Hey Monarchs, this is Mrs. Dutro, and today we are going to talk about the literary archetype, the tragic hero. So please set up a blank sheet of Cornell notes, and here we go. All right, so your essential question for today is, why is the tragic hero archetype prevalent in multiple cultures? Please copy that down into the essential question section of your Cornell notes. So today we're going to talk about several key terms. We are going to talk about the definition of an archetype. We are going to talk about the definition of a tragic hero, obviously, and then some of the components of a tragic hero, including hamartia, peripetia, anagnorisis, and hubris. Archetypes were first dubbed by a man named Carl Jung, and an archetype is a recurring plot, pattern, image, descriptive detail, or character that expresses itself in stories, dreams, or religions. So, in other words, an archetype is something that appears in stories, dreams, and religions from all over the world. So, that's because it's a result of the universal nature of the human condition. People are all essentially the same. So, for example, almost every culture has a Cinderella story all over the world. And while the location and specific details may be different, the story itself is pretty much the same. Another example of an archetype is the creation myths, right? So pretty much every culture has a creation myth, the story of how the earth came to be. And a lot of those creation myths have similarities. Now, there are a ton of different archetypes that we could talk about right now, but I really want to focus on one specific archetype, that is the tragic hero. If you are looking for more information about archetypes, I have a very helpful handout on my website that you can download and print, and you can find that at bit.ly/literary archetypes. So make sure you print that out and download it if you're interested in learning more about archetypes as a whole. Today we're talking specifically about the tragic hero archetype. So before we talk about the specific characteristics of the tragic hero, watch this short clip that shows you the tragic hero's journey. This clip that you're going to watch is basically the tragic hero frame.
In sleepy silence.
A tragic hero is a character who dies a tragic death after falling from great heights and making an irreversible mistake. So tragic heroes accept their death with honor. They don't run away from it. They don't cower from it. They acknowledge that they need to die or that they should die. But often that's because they punish themselves a little bit more than is maybe necessary. So there are several characteristics of a tragic hero that almost all tragic heroes have. One of those is hubris. Hubris refers to excessive pride. This can also be shown by having a character who tries to do more than they should. So in this example, we have a parody of Icarus. And this is a story of the boy who tried to fly too close to the sun and his wings melted. Now in the original version, his wings were made of wax and feathers, but here his wings are made of credit card debt. So in this case, the hubris would be thinking that you are capable of doing much more than you should be able to. Another characteristic of a tragic hero is hamartia, and that is the flaw or error of judgment. So pretty much all tragic heroes have this thing called a tragic flaw, which is hamartia. And that tragic flaw is the thing that leads to their doom. Often, this tragic flaw could be being too ambitious, it could be having too much hubris, being too proud, it could be being too trusting, or it could be jealousy. But this is the flaw that causes all of the characters' problems. So, for example, everything happens for a reason, and sometimes that reason is that you're stupid and make bad choices. And that's basically what happens with the tragic heroes. They usually make some sort of bad choice that leads to their own destruction or demise. Peripetua is another characteristic of a tragic hero, and that is the reversal of fortune brought about because of the hero's error in judgment. So basically, the hero was on top of the world. They were celebrated, they were successful, everybody loved them, and then boom, they make a mistake, they do something because of their fatal flaw, and now suddenly they go from being a hero to a zero. And then finally we have anagnosis, and that is the discovery or recognition that the reversal was brought about by the hero's own actions. So it's not enough to have a hero who makes a bad choice and suddenly they fall from greatness. What makes them a tragic hero is that they recognize that they screwed up and that is why they're in the situation, the crappy situation that they're in now. So without this recognition that they brought about their own downfall, they can't be a tragic hero. Now, some other traits of the tragic hero is that they're usually of noble birth. They usually come from a high-standing family, and they're usually highly respected in the community, usually because they're born into a noble family with lots of money, but it could also be because they are just a really great person and everybody likes them. They must suffer more than they deserve. The hero must also be doomed from the start, and they bear no responsibility for possessing their flaw. So they have the flaw the entire play. It's not something that develops, but often we don't see that flaw in the very beginning, or it's something that the hero doesn't acknowledge that they have. The hero must be noble in nature, but imperfect so the audience can see themselves in them. We need the audience to care about the hero, so they have to be relatable. So yeah, they're flawed at the beginning. They make mistakes, they screw up, but they're still likable. The hero must understand his own doom as well as the fact that his fate was discovered by his own actions. So again, we have to have that anagnosis that the character realizes that they brought this upon themselves. That's critical. And the hero's story should arouse fear and empathy within the reader. They will learn from the hero's actions and learn that they perhaps should not do what the hero did, and they should feel bad for the hero because of whatever their fate turned out to be. The hero has to be physically or spiritually wounded by his experiences, which again often result in his death. So tragic heroes usually die. They may not die, perhaps they end up crippled, or perhaps they end up so emotionally wounded and hurt and destroyed by what they've done that they never recover from it. Usually, especially with Shakespeare, the hero dies at the end. And the hero has to have discovered his fate by his own actions, not by the things happening to him. Once again, he realizes, I did this to myself. He doesn't play the victim. He doesn't say, oh, this person made me do this, or because of this, that's why this happened, it's not my fault. The tragic hero owns their actions, and they say, wow, I screwed up, and this is too much for me to bear. I can't believe I made this mistake. The hero has to be smart and intelligent so that they can learn from their mistakes. And the hero must have a weakness. Usually it's that they're excessively proud. So again, that's that hubris. He has to be faced with a very serious decision that he has to make. So there has to be some point where the character realizes, crap, I'm at a crossroads. I can go this way or I can go this way. And that flaw that the character has is them to make the wrong decision because they're flawed. And that's that critical point where there's the point of no return. Okay, so now that you have learned all about the tragic hero's characteristics, you are ready to watch that short clip again. And now I want you to pay close attention to how that character exhibits the most important characteristics.
In sleepy sanctuary.
And that's all I have for you for today. So please make sure that you have summarized your notes by answering that essential question. Make sure you have chunked your notes into different sections. Make sure that you have written a possible test question for each chunk. And make sure that you have highlighted the key terms and ideas and phrases. And if you have any questions, you can email me at kelly.dutro@aps.edu, or you can check out my website at mrsdutro.org, and I will see you tomorrow.